Good morning, boys and girls. The last video I was building motor mounts. I had one done and tacked in. I finished up the other one and they're welded in all the way around. I pulled the motor out, obviously, but now I'm ready to put it back in the hole. And but before I do that, I'll show you what the mounts look like and how everything turned out. And also, thank you, new subscribers. Got another bunch this week. So yeah, that's rolling along great. So you know, tell your buddies, spread the word, man. So anyway, I'll grab the camera in a minute and I'll show you what those mounts look like. And then we're gonna get this sucker back in the hole and we'll get on putting the transmission in place and making our mount for that. So might as well just get to it. Okay, so there's the mounts. They look pretty good, pretty clean. They're welded in all the way around, and yeah, ready to put the engine back in place. And then we'll support the transmission with my little motorcycle jack I have over there, bolted to the engine. And we're gonna have to get rid of that torque tube. It's going to be in the way. And yeah, figure out where we're going to put our transmission cross member. So yeah, I guess we'll put the motor in now. Okay, so the motor's back in. It's bolted on each side, and you know, looks good. Took me maybe less than 10 minutes to put it in. So pretty slick. I like it. And next order of business will be to cut or get at that torque tube, get that out of my way, because the transmission won't fit between the engine and the torque tube. So it's got to be moved. So that's my next order of business, and I'm going to get after that right now. Okay, so really there's only one way to get that torque tube out of there. That's to pull the rear end as well. That doesn't work for me. Two reasons. One, space. I don't have a way of manhandling that thing all in one piece out of there to the outside. There's just not enough room, and I'll be fighting with it. I don't want to do that. Secondly, I need this thing to be on wheels so I can move it around. And I don't have an axle to replace the one that's in there right now ready. So I'm going to cut the torque tube, and I've already started. Somewhere there's a restorer shaking his head going, "You butcher, what are you doing? I could have used that piece." But anyway, that's what a torque tube looks on the inside, with the outer shell cut off. And I'm almost done cutting the tube itself. That gives me enough room in between the motor and the rest of the torque tube to put my transmission in. So yeah, I got about a ½ an inch left to cut on it. So that's what I'm doing. You know, this thing, even if I try to sell it, I don't know if anybody wants one or needs one. But you know, it probably would have sat here in the snowbank for months, and then I'd end up trashing it anyway. So the hell with it. I'm cutting it. That's the way I'm doing it. And yeah, too bad. Anyway, so I'm going to finish cutting that, and then I'm going to get the transmission in place. I dug the transmission out. It was sitting under my stairs. So there it is. It's a turbo 350, 3-speed automatic. You know, these things are pretty well bulletproof. They're good transmissions. And we're not running, you know, 700 horsepower through it or anything. So it'll be fine. So anyway, I'm going to get that in place and bolt it up to the motor. And yeah, we'll be back once it's in the spot. Okay, so I went up to my shit pile upstairs and I dug out this cross member. It's already bolted in underneath to the tranny. Obviously, it's not going to work like that, you know. But it's out of a Chevy or El Camino, I think. But anyway, it's bolted up, comes up to just underneath the frame rails, which of course is not what I want. But I'm thinking, if I was to cut it, you know, maybe here on either side, and then combine it with this cross member here that was originally in the truck, and mate the two together, it might work. So I'm going to cut the ends off of these and I'm going to see how it looks. If it looks too funky, well, I'll just make one from scratch. But if I can make this work, it'll be a huge time saver. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, so I cut the pieces off of each end of the 51 Chevy Crossmember, and I just placed them on the 71 El Camino Crossmember. Now, no, it looks a little funky right now, but I think I can MacGyver a working crossmember out of this. And unlike MacGyver, I'm not going to use bubble gum and a book of matches. I'm going to use some steel and some welding. So I got to clean all this crap up real good. Still got to bust a couple of those rivets out of these two pieces. You can see there's a rivet right here and another one there. So we got to knock those out, clean up the crossmember, clean up the steel. I'll tack them in place, and then I'll unbolt it from the transmission, get it on the workbench, and see if I can pretty this thing up a little bit. So yeah, that's where we're at. Okay, so I'll show you what I've done here. So I tacked this on to the other crossmember. Then I cut this at an angle. Okay. And I made up a little template. It goes like so. And cut out some steel. So I'll show you what it looks like. This side's pretty much welded in. So there. So, you know, when you're doing something like this, you got to think kind of backwards, right? I mean, this looks pretty good, right? That's your top. It sits just like that in the frame. So yeah, it looks good, but you know, you're probably the only guy that's ever going to see it, because once the body is back on top, you can't see nothing. So what people do see is the bottom side. So you got to make sure that you know, make the bottom side super clean, look good, because that's what people are going to see when they look underneath. You know, I've done it myself. You know, what kind of frame is he running? What kind of suspension is he running? So yeah, you see the bottom side. So I think it looks pretty good. It almost looks like it was supposed to be that way, and that's kind of what I was going for. So I'm going to finish up the other side, get that plated in, clean the whole thing up, make it nice, and get it back in the frame and onto the transmission. Okay, there it is. Man, I'm telling you, I didn't think the welding would ever end on this thing, but it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's all cleaned up. It's the top side, and on the back here, that's the underside. So yeah, I think it looks great. So I'm going to put it in place, bolt it up, get the transmission bolted up, standing on its own, remove the jack that's currently holding the tranny up, and we'll take a look at the finished product once it's all together. So yeah, I'm going to drill a few holes and get this thing mounted. Okay, so there she is, bolted in. I think it looks pretty slick. You know, down the road, if the guy ever has to pull a transmission out for whatever reason, you know, change the torque converter or the flywheel, or even get the transmission rebuilt or whatever, you know, it's 2 bolts on each side and 2 bolts underneath, unbolted from the motor, and out she comes. Piece of cake. 20 minutes to take out a transmission. Awesome. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good, and now I can continue on with boxing in my frame rails. We'll bring it up to past the back of the cab, and then I'll be able to drop this cab back down and get after the rear axle. So I'm going to clean this place up because it's a pigsty. Man, I did a lot of welding and grinding. So we'll sweep her up, put a bunch of tools away, and you know, I'll come back and show you what we're on next. Okay, so here we are. This is the rear axle housing I'm going to be using. It's a 9-inch Ford. It says on the tag 1966 Ford 9-inch. Doesn't say what it's out of. It's 56 inches wide, which is very close to what's in the stock one that's in the truck. So it should work out okay. needs a good cleanup. You know, it's just surface rust and grunge, so we're going to clean that all up. These here, the spring perches, they sit on your leaf springs. They're going to have to be cut off and moved inward because the springs are, you know, narrower width than what these are at. So for the center section, I've got a set of 343 gears, which isn't bad. You know, it's not going to be stupid gas mileage, but you know, good pickup off the line and still get half decent gas mileage. So it's a good all-around gear, kind of a middle of the road. I've got the axles, and I believe I have some of the brake parts as well. But so we're going to go ahead and clean this all up. I'm going to dig out the center section, and you know, we'll get on that. That's I just want to get it all prepped. I need gaskets and I need some seals and stuff. I've got to order that in yet, so I'm not ready to put it together yet. But we're going to go ahead and clean it up anyway and get a little bit of a jump on it. And yeah, so after I finish boxing in those two sections of frame, it's maybe that long on each side, I'm going to flip the cab back down on its floor, and we'll be able to box in the rear section, pull out the existing rear end and the rest of the torque tube, and get on putting this in place. So yeah, that's where we're at on that. So I got one other thing to show you. So a little while back, local guy, he's in the car club here, he's been watching my videos, and he sent me a message that he had some parts that I might be interested in for the 51 Chevy project. So sure enough, I got a hold of him, and yeah, he said he's got some front suspension parts designed specifically for this truck, and you know, he would be willing to bring them over. So you know, he had real decent, reasonable price on it, smoking deal really, and it's good quality stuff. So and it's exactly the kind of stuff that I was wanting to put in this truck anyhow. So it's here, and like I said, smoking good deal on it. So thank you, Mike. And you know, I'm going to grab the camera and I'll show you what Mike brought. Oh, here we are. So, front cross member for Mustang 2 type front end. It's already got the mounts on it for the rack and pinion. Takes a Mustang rack, and this thing is engineered, man. Like every angle is covered. It fits perfectly into the frame. Then you got your spring cups here. These are also got angles and everything on them, all figured out. Everything's pre-engineered and tested and true. This kit came from Horton's, which is, you know, the go-to hot rod guy in Ontario here anyway. It even came with the boxing plates, because you've got to notch the frame a little bit to put the stuff in. And on top of that, we got upper control arms, all tubular stuff, high-end stuff, lower control arms, and even the coil springs. So we're going to have to put new ball joints in, but that's not a big deal. I believe he said they were Chrysler Mopar, they're threaded in. So we'll get new ball joints. So it's a good chunk of what I need. I'm still missing, I'm going to need spindles, I'm going to need brakes, yeah, and a ball joint. So so we're going to have to order some parts. This thing was brand new in the box. He bought it. They were going to do one of these trucks, and ended up selling the truck. So this box had never been opened. It was sitting in a shed for years, and so when we opened it up here, he saw it for the first time, as did I. It even comes with instructions. Woohoo! And I do read instructions, guys. I'm not too proud for that. I'll read instructions. and you know, make sure we got it done right. So that's the whole kit. Very cool. I'm gonna have to get the rest of those parts ordered, and I'll probably put an order together for that and the stuff I need for the rear axle. So geez, this is Sunday. Tomorrow is actually a holiday here in Canada. It's Family Day, so the family's invited to come out and work in the garage with me, but they probably won't. So yeah, everything will be closed tomorrow. Sometime this week I'm going to get this stuff ordered. But man, I'm super stoked to get this stuff. This is great. And it's good quality, high-end stuff. So happy to have it, and glad to be able to put it in this truck. Okay, so it's Sunday night. Had supper a little while ago. You know, I've got to get this video done and into editing tonight. I wanted to get it out today actually, but you know, just took me a little bit longer than I had planned. So it'll be out tomorrow instead. So when you see this, it'll be Monday morning or later. I've been I've been grinding on that rear axle there a little bit, and eating some dust. So you know, I cracked open a nice ice cold pop, and I'm gonna relax for the rest of the evening. Man, we got a lot done. You know, the motor's in, the transmission is in, and I'm happy with it. So you know, next we get that rear axle figured out. I may even put it together dry, and because I'm blowing this whole thing apart anyway after it's all together, to paint and detail it and clean everything up. So you know, I might put it together dry, that way I can get my spring pad location and all that stuff figured out, weld in shock mounts and whatever else I have to for the rear end. And plus it's going to help with the stance, because you know, it'd be nice to have the rear axle in place before I tackle notching the frame and putting in the Mustang 2 setup. Certain things have to be level and square and all this kind of stuff, so it's good to have the ride height that you're going to be at ahead of time. So yeah, the rear axle is next. So I've got to finish boxing those frame rails. Like I said, there's about 18 inches on each side, and that brings me up to the back of the cab, so I can flip the cab back over on the floor, and then you know, clean up all that back end under the box area, get rid of that existing axle and torque tube, get that out of there, and get my new axle or replacement axle in place, and then move to the front end, and you know, we'll have the whole chassis done except for, you know, plumbing, brake lines and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at there. You know, today, Monday, when you see this, is Monday, is Family Day, like I said. So you know, the family can come out and join me, but you know, no, that's not going to happen. Anyway, my son doesn't like to get his hands dirty. Jesus. Anyway, thanks again to Mike for getting a hold of me on those parts. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to get an order in soon. What else? Yeah, you can check us out on Facebook, Dirty Dan's Rod and Cycle, posting you know, progress on the Model A and stuff there. The Model A video didn't do too bad, didn't do great, but not bad. So you know, we'll do another one on that. New subscribers, thank you very much. And you know, if you want to follow along on this 51 Chevy, like I said, we're starting from scratch right through to the end of the build, total build. So if you want to follow it, subscribe, and hit the little bell, and that way, you know, you won't miss any of the steps. And you know, it'd be cool to have you aboard and checking it out. So yeah, it's snowing like a bastard out there right now. Supposed to get a bunch, so I'm not looking forward to that. And then back to cold, you know, 26 below or something. So I don't know, it's up and down like a yo-yo, and it's freaking me out. I just want spring to come. So you know, hopefully we have another maybe a couple of weeks of this garbage, and then things will clear up and start warming up, because these old bones can't handle the cold like they used to, man. So yeah, so that's about it for today. And you know, if you don't do anything else, get in the garage and build something, man. Later, guys.